the best answer to the job interview question, why do you want to work here? So if you go to a job interview and they ask you this question, so why do you want to work here? Right? Now, this is a classic example of like, let me give it to you straight here. This is a classic example of moronism. The problem with job interviews is that they are biased, but they're biased in ways that not a lot of people talk about. We're not talking about ethnicity or, sexual orientation or any of that stuff. We're talking about they're biased for a start. They're biased towards extroverts. Okay? Because a lot of the questions they ask, what they're really asking is not literally what they're saying. And this question is yet another example of that, right? Where they're saying these words, and if you take the words literally, you would fail the question because that's not what they're asking, right? Like for example, where do you see yourself in 5 years, right? It's like, if you were to interpret that question literally, like you would probably come up with an answer along the lines of like, well, I can't predict where I'm going to be. And, it's kind of a silly question to ask now because where I'm going to be in 5 years will radically change depending on if you hire me or not. And you know more about the outcome of that decision than I do, Like it's just so strange. So once someone explains the question, they say, what they're really wanting to know is, is this the kind of work you would like to do long term? Note, of course, that they did not ask it. They did not phrase it literally like that. They asked you a sort of version that requires interpretation, right? This highly skews the results towards extroverts and people that can read context clues into questions and things. There's a lot of talented people out there that, maybe they're engineer types, maybe they're technical types. They don't do this. That's why they need training. And the first part of the training is for someone to explain what these questions are really asking, right? Because some of them are very hard to understand. Like, tell me about yourself. That could mean almost anything. So here's another one. Why do you want to work here? Best answer. Now, a lot of young people or people that have never, they haven't done a lot of interviews, they will most likely take offense at this question and say, well, that's a stupid question. Obviously, I want to work here so I can make money. I mean, hello. You want someone to work here? I need a job, so that's why I'm here. I mean, hello, Now, obviously, if you answer the question like that, you fail because that is not what they're asking. They're actually asking something a little less intuitive. Okay, so don't say, because I need a job, so I don't starve. That's a bad answer. Don't say, some people recommend you turn the question around, right? And like give a hostile answer, like, well, why should I want to work here? What's so great about this place that I'd want to work here? It's like, no, don't say that, right? Equally bad answer. Okay, we have to get those out of the way first. Okay. What this question is really about is they want to see proof that you've researched this employer. That's what this question is about. So if they say, well, why do you want to work here? They want you to start talking and indicating that you know something about this company. So you would say something like, well, I know that you guys are leaders in this business, and I know that you have these products, and these products are good for this reason. And that's really exciting because the reason why those products are good, well, that's my area, So if I want to work for a company that really gets it when it comes to this and is on their A game at doing this stuff, I'd come here. You guys are the natural choice because you're crushing it based on your performance in this area. And that's the area that I have skills in, that I have a passion for, and that I have experience in. So it seems like a perfect fit. It seems like this would be the place to be, something like that. So you're indirectly saying, I know about you guys. I know who you are. I know what you do. I know why someone would presumably want to work here, right? And they say, okay, so you're not just applying to jobs blindly because you just need something. You specifically want to work for us. And if we can see that, now your stock goes up in our book, right? We think more favorably of you. We know you're not just applying to random jobs. You're here for a reason. And you've handpicked us because you specifically want to work here. And we like that, right? Like that's what the question is about, okay? So they also are under what I believe is a false assumption that the candidate that shows the most enthusiasm for the role is the one that will stay the longest. Okay, that is something that has been mentioned in the theory behind recruitment and selection. You know, they're looking for someone that will give an overt display of passion and enthusiasm for the role, and or for the company, usually more towards the role. And they equate that with, you're more passionate about it, therefore you're a better fit, therefore you will stay the longest and perform best. You will not have issues of morale. You will not immediately start looking for another job once we hire you. So they're making all these assumptions simply based on the fact that you showed a lot of enthusiasm in the interview when answering questions like this. Okay? Once again, I would put forward that that's a false assumption. I haven't been able to get any data on that principle and several others. I don't know of any peer-reviewed studies that have confirmed that this is a thing. It's an assumption people make. I think that even if it was true in, say, 60% of cases, it turned out that this was true, you would still get 40% of people that, they were the better candidate, but maybe they weren't extrovert and touchy-feely enough to send you that signal in the interview, so you didn't conclude that they'd be the best fit, right? But this is how recruiters think. And if you're trying to ingratiate yourself to recruiters and pass their sort of tests, you have to think like them and you have to embrace all these kind of things. Whether or not they apply to you or not. Maybe you are not a very enthusiastic person. You don't show it. You're not, cheering and crying and hugging and dancing and, right? You're not that type of person. Maybe you're just very reserved, but you feel everything on the inside. You just don't show it as easily as some other people. In which case, according to this test, you would be at a disadvantage. You would have to push yourself to give the reaction that maybe they're looking for once you realize they're looking for it. How's this for a monologue, by the way? So it's kind of dumb, but the answer to this question is they're looking for some form of flattery, not for the person, the individual, but for the organization. They want to know that you know some stuff about the company and their products and, the role, and they want to hear flattering things. And that makes them feel good on a personal level, but it also, according to this theory, signals that you'd be a better fit. Okay. So a great way to answer is, I've talked about this before, is to say something along the lines of the "I want the job" thing. You have to say that at some point in the interview. It really is a great thing you can say. This would be the perfect opportunity to say that. Okay? So they say, well, why would you want to work here? And you say something along the lines of, listen, I want you to know that I want this job. And then you back that up. I want this job because you guys do this and you have a history of doing this. And that's what I do. And that's the approach that I've done throughout my career and that I embrace and I believe is the way forward. And you guys do that. So I see this as a natural place for someone like me. I'm just making this up as I go along, but you would back up, I want this job, with reasons like that show you know about them. Okay? What I had written down was, I want this. You guys are the industry leader. My skill set fits perfectly to this role. And I'm excited to take that role into the future, something like that, some kind of mindless manager jargon like that, or jargon, depending on your point of view. Yeah, now the only other thing I could say about this question is that it sounds very similar to a couple other questions. It sounds very similar to, why should we hire you? Okay, that sounds similar to, why do you want to work here? And there's a lot of overlap between those two questions, right? It also sounds similar to, why do you want this job? Right? Same kind of rules. Don't say, so I don't starve, right? Don't say, well, why would you want, why should I want this job? It's like, no, don't say that, right? Okay. For those questions, I recommend you back it up by saying, here's what I got, and my understanding is that you're looking for someone who has this. I have all those. So it's a platform for you to remind them that, like, I got all the things you're looking for, and plus I want to work here, right? Okay. So there's some overlap between those questions. I've done videos on all these questions. Go watch my videos on specifically how to answer these questions. I think you can get something from that. But that's what I have to say about this question. Why do you want to work here? Best answer would be, that's the perfect platform to say the whole I want this job thing, and then back it up by, showing that you know about them and how you fit, or how you have things that would work here, or how you have certain kinship with their approach or the way they do things. Okay, that's what I have to say.